Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the biggest mistake you're making with money happens while you're sleeping? Most people think wealth comes from working harder during the day. But ancient wisdom reveals something completely different. The real secret lies in what your mind does during those 8 hours when you think nothing is happening. Tonight, I'm going to share with you a combination of timeless wisdom that has transformed how millions approach wealth creation. This isn't about quick fixes or get-rich schemes. This is about reprogramming your deepest beliefs about money while your conscious mind is out of the way. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your sleep might be the most valuable time for building wealth and how two powerful teaching methods can work together to change everything. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Most of us have been programmed since childhood to believe that money is scarce, that wealthy people are somehow different from us, or that we don't deserve financial abundance. These beliefs run so deep that even when we work hard during the day, our subconscious mind is working against us at night. Think about it. How many times have you heard phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy, or you have to work yourself to death to make money? These thoughts become like invisible chains around your financial potential. And here's the scary part. Your subconscious mind never sleeps while you're resting. It's either working for you or against you. The challenge is that most people try to change their financial situation by changing their external actions. They work more hours. They switch jobs. They invest in different things. But they never address the root cause, the programming that's running in the background of their minds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The science of sleep reprogramming. Your brain during sleep is like a computer running maintenance programs. But this comparison only scratches the surface of what truly happens when you close your eyes each night. Scientists have discovered that during certain sleep phases, particularly during REM sleep and the transitions between deep sleep cycles, your mind becomes exponentially more receptive to new information than when you're fully awake and alert. This happens because the critical analytical part of your brain, the part that constantly judges and filters every piece of information that comes your way, essentially takes a break and becomes less active during these crucial hours. Think about this for a moment. During your waking hours, your conscious mind acts like a security guard at the entrance of a building, carefully examining every thought, every idea, every possibility for allowing it entry into your deeper consciousness. This security guard has been trained by years of experience, societal conditioning, and past disappointments to be extremely cautious, especially when it comes to ideas about wealth and financial success. It questions everything, doubts possibilities, and often rejects new concepts that don't match existing beliefs about what's possible or realistic. But when you enter sleep, something remarkable happens. This mental security guard doesn't completely disappear, but it relaxes its vigilance significantly. The gates to your subconscious mind become more permeable, more open to new programming and fresh perspectives. This is why you might wake up with solutions to problems you couldn't solve the day before, or why certain dreams feel so real and emotionally impactful that they stay with you for years. When you understand this principle deeply, you begin to realize that sleep becomes your secret weapon for wealth creation in ways that most people never can. Instead of just letting random thoughts and worries cycle through your mind all night like a broken record player stuck on the same song, you can intentionally feed your sleeping consciousness prosperity-focused ideas that will gradually but powerfully reshape your entire relationship with money. Success and abundance. This isn't some new age concept without scientific backing. Neuroscientists have documented how the brain consolidates memories and processes information during sleep through a process called memory consolidation. What happens is that your brain literally rewires itself during these hours, strengthening neural pathways that were activated during the day and integrating new information with existing knowledge structure. When you deliberately introduce wealth-focused concepts into this process, you're essentially hijacking your brain's natural learning and integration mechanisms to support your financial goals. The key to making this work lies in understanding that repetition during these vulnerable mental states is far more powerful than repetition during normal waking consciousness. Your subconscious mind learns through repetition and emotional association, not through logic and rational analysis. It doesn't matter if you consciously believe what you're hearing at first, and in fact, it's often better if your conscious mind isn't trying to analyze and judge the content. What matters is that you consistently expose your sleeping mind to wealth building in concepts, prosperity, affirmations, and abundance-focused narratives night after night after night. Consider every single night you sleep, your brain is already processing approximately 60,000 thoughts and neural impulses. Most of these thoughts are random recycling of daily stress, unresolved problems, fears about the future, and repetitions of existing mental patterns. But what if you could redirect even a portion of this mental processing power toward consistently reinforcing beliefs about your financial potential, your worthiness of abundance, and your natural ability to create wealth? The neuroplasticity research shows us that the brain remains changeable throughout our entire lives. The neural pathways that currently support limiting beliefs about money were created through repetition and emotional reinforcement over time. These same mechanisms can be used to create new pathways that support wealth consciousness instead. The difference is that sleep provides an accelerated environment for this transformation because the usual mental resistance is dramatically reduced. When you consistently feed your sleeping mind concepts about financial abundance, several things begin to happen simultaneously. First, your brain starts forming new neural associations between yourself and wealth. Second, your emotional relationship with money begins to shift from fear and scarcity to confidence and abundance. Third, your subconscious mind starts seeking evidence during your waking hours that supports these new beliefs rather than evidence that confirms old limitations. This creates a powerful momentum that builds upon itself with each passing night. The ancient art of mental cultivation. Ancient philosophers understood something profound about the human mind that modern society has almost completely forgotten in our rush toward technological solutions and external fixes. They knew with absolute certainty that true wealth, lasting prosperity, and genuine abundance begin not in the physical realm of money and possessions, but in the much more fundamental realm of thoughts, beliefs, and mental conditions. These wise teachers developed highly sophisticated practices specifically designed to cultivate what they called right thinking about prosperity, abundance, and the natural laws that govern how wealth flows in human experience. These practices weren't just about positive thinking in the shallow way that modern self-help often presents it. They understood that positive thinking without deep transformation is like putting fresh paint over rust. It might look better temporarily, but the underlying decay continues to spread underneath the surface. Instead, their methods were about creating fundamental shifts in how you perceive reality itself at the deepest possible level. They knew that when your mind truly believes not just intellectually, but at the core of your being that abundance is the natural state of existence and that you deserve prosperity as much as you deserve to breathe air, your actions automatically begin to align with that belief system. This alignment happens without forced effort or constant conscious monitoring. You start noticing opportunities that were always present in your environment but had been invisible to your previous mental programming. You begin making decisions from a place of inner confidence and natural abundance rather than from the fear, scarcity, and desperation that drive most people's financial choices. Your intuition about money matters becomes sharper and more reliable. You develop what they call prosperity consciousness, a state of mind where wealth creation feels as natural and effortless as any other life skill you've mastered. The most interesting aspect of these ancient practices is that the teachers understood something about timing and mental receptivity that modern neuroscience has only recently begun to validate. They knew that these profound mental shifts happen most effectively when your logical, analytical mind isn't actively interfering with the transformation process. They developed specific techniques for accessing altered states of consciousness where new beliefs could take root without the normal resistance that occurs during ordinary waking awareness. During sleep, your brain naturally enters these receptive states multiple times throughout the night. Your conscious mind, with all its doubts, fears, learned limitations, and protective mechanisms, steps aside to allow deeper processing to occur. This is when your brain sorts through the day's experiences, consolidates important information into long-term memory, and integrates new concepts with existing knowledge structures. Ancient wisdom keepers understood this and created practices specifically designed to influence this natural process. When you combine their understanding of mental cultivation with modern scientific knowledge about how the brain processes information during sleep, you create something uniquely powerful. You're essentially using cutting-edge neuroscience to enhance ancient wisdom practices that have been tested and refined over thousands of years. The combination creates results that neither approach could achieve alone. The traditional methods required years of dedicated practice, often in isolated environments away from the distractions and conditioning of ordinary society. But when you understand how to work with your brain's natural sleep cycles, you can accelerate this transformation dramatically. Every night becomes an opportunity to deepen your prosperity consciousness without the time investment or lifestyle changes that traditional practices required. What makes this approach so effective is that it works with your mind's natural tendencies rather than against them. Your brain is already processing information during sleep. Your subconscious is already active during these hours. You're simply redirecting existing mental processes towards supporting your financial goals instead of reinforcing old limitations. It's like redirecting a river that's already flowing. You're not trying to create something that doesn't exist. You're simply changing the direction of energy that's already in motion. The ancient teachers also understood something crucial about the relationship between inner transformation and outer manifestation. They knew that trying to change your external circumstances without first changing your internal mental environment is like trying to change your reflection in a mirror by adjusting the mirror instead of changing yourself. The external world, including your financial circumstances, is largely a reflection of your dominant mental patterns and beliefs. This is why sleep programming for wealth works so effectively. You're not trying to manipulate external circumstances directly. Instead, you're transforming the mental environment that creates those circumstances. When your inner world changes, your outer world naturally follows, often in ways that seem almost magical to observers who don't understand the underlying principle. The transformation happens gradually at first, then more rapidly. As the new mental patterns gain strength and momentum, your subconscious mind begins to automatically seek evidence that supports your new beliefs about wealth and abundance. You start noticing information, opportunities, and connections that align with prosperity consciousness. Most importantly, you begin to trust your own ability to create financial success because this trust is now supported by deep unconscious conviction rather than just surface-level hope or wishful thinking. Breaking free from poverty programming. Most people don't realize they carry what we could call poverty programming deep within their subconscious minds. And this programming is so subtle and pervasive that it operates like an invisible force field around their financial potential. This programming didn't appear overnight, and it didn't come from any single source. Instead, it accumulated gradually through thousands of small messages, experiences, and observations that began in early childhood and continued throughout their development into adulthood. Well-meaning parents, teachers, religious figures, media influencers, and society at large all contributed to building a complex mental framework around money that ironically actually repels wealth instead of attracting it. The tragedy of poverty programming is that it often comes from people who genuinely care about us and want to protect us from disappointment or failure. Parents might say things like money doesn't grow on trees to teach responsibility, but a child's subconscious mind interprets this as money is extremely difficult to obtain. Teachers might warn about getting your hopes up too high to protect students from disappointment. But the deeper message received is don't expect good things because you'll probably be let down. Religious teachings might emphasize that money is the root of all evil to encourage spiritual values. But the unconscious takeaway becomes wanting wealth makes me a bad person. These messages, combined with direct observations of financial stress in the family environment, new stories about economic hardship, and countless subtle social cues about class, worthiness, and what people like us can realistically expect from life. Layer upon layer, year after year, These inputs create a sophisticated internal operating system that governs how you think, feel, and behave around money matters. This system runs automatically in the background of your consciousness, influencing every financial decision you make without you even realizing it's happening. For example, maybe somewhere along the way you absorb the belief that wanting money makes you selfish or materialistic. This creates an unconscious conflict every time you try to improve your financial situation. Part of you wants success, but another part judges you for wanting it. Or perhaps you learn that wealthy people got their money by taking advantage of others, which creates unconscious resistance to becoming wealthy yourself, because you don't want to become someone you've been taught to view negatively. Another common piece of poverty programming is the scarcity mindset, the deeply held belief that there's only so much wealth to go around, so if someone else has more, there must be less available for you. This creates a mental framework where wealth is seen as a zero-sum game rather than something that can be created and expanded. When you operate from this framework, you unconsciously limit your own potential because you believe that your success somehow takes away from others. These beliefs feel absolutely true because you've believed them for so long that they've become part of your identity. They're not just thoughts you have, they feel like facts about how the world works. Your mind has gathered evidence to support these beliefs over the years, creating what psychologists call confirmation bias. You notice the stories that confirm your existing beliefs about money and overlook the evidence that contradicts them. The beautiful thing about sleep reprogramming is that it completely bypasses the resistance your conscious mind would normally put up against changing these deep-seated beliefs. When you're sleeping, your mind enters a state that's naturally open to new possibilities and perspectives. The mental security guard that usually protects your existing belief system relaxes its vigilance, creating an opportunity for new programming to take root. It's like updating the operating system of your brain while you're not actively using it for conscious tasks. During these precious hours, your subconscious mind can begin to release old patterns that no longer serve you and integrate new beliefs that support your highest financial potential. The process happens gradually and gently without the internal conflict and resistance that often accompanies attempts to change beliefs during waking hours. What makes sleep programming so effective for overcoming poverty consciousness is that it works with your brain's natural learning mechanisms rather than against them. Your subconscious mind is designed to learn through repetition and emotional association. It doesn't analyze or judge new information the way your conscious mind does. It simply absorbs and integrates whatever it receives consistently over time. This means you don't have to convince yourself that new beliefs about wealth are true. You don't have to overcome years of skepticism or fight against ingrained mental habits. You simply need to expose your sleeping mind to prosperity-focused concepts night after night, allowing the natural learning processes of your brain to gradually build new neural pathways that support wealth consciousness instead of poverty programming. The transformation happens from the inside out, beginning with subtle shifts in how you think and feel about money during your daily life. You might notice that financial conversations don't trigger the same anxiety they used to. You might find yourself naturally considering possibilities for increasing your income that never occurred to you before. You might discover that you're making different choices with the money you already have. Choices that reflect confidence and abundance thinking rather than fear and scarcity. Over time, these internal changes begin to manifest in your external financial reality. Not through magic or mysterious forces, but through the simple fact that when your beliefs about money change, your actions around money automatically change as well. When your actions consistently change in alignment with prosperity consciousness, your results inevitably begin to reflect this new internal programming. The process requires patience and consistency because you're essentially overwriting mental programming that took years or even decades to install. But the advantage of using sleep time is that you're accessing approximately 8 hours every single night of prime reprogramming opportunity. This adds up to enormous cumulative impact over weeks and months, especially when you consider that most people waste these precious hours simply recycling the same old mental patterns that created their current financial limitations in the first place. The power of consistent mental input. Here's something most people get completely wrong about changing their mindset around money. And this misunderstanding is precisely why so many intelligent, capable individuals remain stuck in the same financial patterns year after year, despite their best intentions and genuine efforts to improve their situation. They think they can listen to something once or twice, maybe read a book about wealth consciousness, attend a seminar, or watch a few videos about prosperity mindset and expect massive lasting changes to occur in their deep-seated beliefs about money and financial success. This approach reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how the human mind actually learns and integrates new information at the subconscious level. Your current beliefs about money, whatever they happen to be, weren't formed through a single dramatic event or revelation. Instead, they were carefully constructed through thousands upon thousands of repetitions over many years, perhaps even decades of your life. Every conversation you overheard between your parents about money struggles, every news story you absorbed about economic hardship, every cultural message you received about wealth and poverty, every personal experience you had with financial stress or abundance, all of these instances contributed tiny building blocks to the massive mental structure that now governs your relationship with money. Consider the sheer volume of repetition that went into creating your current financial programming. From birth until now, you've been exposed to messages about money literally tens of thousands of times. Your brain processed each of these messages and used them to build neural pathways that now operate automatically, influencing your thoughts, emotions, decisions, and actions around financial matters without your conscious awareness. These pathways have been reinforced so many times that they feel like absolute truth rather than learned patterns that could potentially be changed. To transform this deeply embedded programming, you need consistent, repeated exposure to new ideas about wealth and abundance that can gradually build competing neural pathways strong enough to override the old patterns. This is where sleep programming becomes incredibly powerful in ways that most people never consider. Every single night becomes an opportunity to reinforce new beliefs about wealth, abundance, and your personal financial potential. Instead of allowing your mind to randomly process the day's stress, worries, and the same old mental loops that keep you stuck, you're feeding it specific intentional messages about your unlimited capacity for financial success. Think of this process like training a muscle in your body. You wouldn't expect to develop significant physical strength by working out once or twice. You understand intuitively that building muscle requires consistent, repeated effort over extended periods of time. Your subconscious mind works according to exactly the same principle. The more consistently you expose it to wealth-focused ideas during those vulnerable sleep states, the stronger these new neural pathways become and the more automatic prosperity thinking becomes in your daily life. The beauty of using sleep time for this mental training is that you're accessing approximately 8 hours every single night of pure programming opportunity. During these hours, your conscious mind, with all its skepticism, doubt, and resistance, is essentially offline, creating ideal conditions for new beliefs to take root and grow stronger. You're not fighting against years of mental conditioning. You're simply building new conditioning that's more aligned with your financial goals. What happens over time is remarkable. The new neural pathways associated with wealth consciousness gradually become stronger and more dominant than the old pathways associated with financial limitation. Eventually, thinking prosperously becomes as automatic and natural as breathing. You don't have to consciously remember to think positive thoughts about money. Your mind naturally defaults to abundance thinking because that's become the strongest mental pattern. This transformation affects every aspect of your financial life. You begin to notice opportunities that were always present but invisible to your previous mental programming. You make different choices about spending, saving, and investing because these decisions now arise from abundance consciousness rather than scarcity programming. You approach business opportunities, career advancement, and income generation with a fundamentally different energy that other people can sense and respond to positively. The compound effect of consistent nightly programming cannot be overstated. Each night builds upon the previous night. Each week builds upon the previous week. You're essentially getting 8 hours of mental reprogramming time that you weren't using effectively before. And this represents nearly 3,000 hours per year of dedicated work on your financial consciousness. Compare this to perhaps 30 minutes per day of conscious wealth building activities during waking hours, and you can see why sleep programming can accelerate transformation so dramatically. The key insight is that your subconscious mind is always active, always learning, always processing information even during sleep. The question is whether you're going to direct this natural learning process towards supporting your financial goals, or whether you're going to leave it to chance, allowing it to randomly reinforce whatever mental patterns happen to be strongest at any given moment. When you take conscious control of this process, you transform sleep from passive rest time into active wealth building time. Understanding natural laws of abundance. This is a principle that successful people throughout history have understood crystal clarity. And this understanding forms the foundation of their ability to create wealth seemingly effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly with financial limitations. This principle is both simple and profound. Abundance is actually the fundamental natural state of the universe itself. When you truly comprehend this truth and align your thinking with it, you stop swimming against the current of natural law and begin flowing with forces that are infinitely more powerful than individual effort or willpower alone. Look around you at any moment and observe the evidence of this natural abundance. Nature doesn't create just enough flowers for spring. Carefully rationing beauty so that each garden receives exactly its fair share and no more. The universe doesn't count out precisely the right number of stars for the night sky, making sure there aren't too many, because that might be wasteful or unfair to other galaxies. Everything in nature tends toward abundance, expansion, growth, and multiplication. Trees produce thousands of seeds when only a few need to survive. The ocean contains billions of gallons of water, not just enough to meet minimum requirements. The same principle of natural abundance extends to every aspect of existence, including the realm of wealth and financial prosperity. The universe operates according to laws of expansion and multiplication rather than scarcity and limitation. However, human society has created artificial scarcity mindsets that go directly against these fundamental natural laws. We've been systematically taught to compete for supposedly limited resources instead of understanding how to align ourselves with the abundant flow that already exists everywhere around us. The conditioning begins early and runs deep. We are taught that there's only so much money to go around, that economic success is a zero-sum game where someone's gain necessarily means someone else's loss. We learn to view wealth as something external that must be fought for, competed for, and hoarded once obtained because there might not be enough for everyone. These beliefs create internal resistance to natural abundance principles, making wealth creation feel difficult, stressful, and morally questionable. But when you begin to shift your perspective and start to see wealth as something that flows naturally rather than something you have to fight for, struggle against, or take from others, everything changes in your experience. You stop approaching financial opportunities from a place of desperation and competition and begin approaching them from a place of confidence and collaboration. You recognize that creating value for others naturally creates wealth for yourself, and that true prosperity comes from contributing to the abundant flow rather than trying to dam it up for personal hoarding. This shift in understanding transforms not just how you think about money, but how you feel about pursuing financial success. The guilt, anxiety, and internal conflict that many people experience around wealth begin to dissolve when you realize that becoming financially abundant allows you to contribute more to others rather than taking away from them. You understand that your prosperity creates prosperity for everyone whose life you touch through your increased ability to spend, invest, donate, and create opportunities for others. During sleep, when your analytical mind isn't actively resisting new ideas or defending old belief systems, you can begin to absorb this understanding of natural abundance on a much deeper level than intellectual comprehension alone. Your subconscious mind starts to accept that seeking wealth isn't about taking from others or being greedy or materialistic. Instead, it begins to integrate the understanding that aligning yourself with natural principles of abundance is actually a way of harmonizing with the fundamental way the universe operates. This integration happens gradually but powerfully as your sleeping mind processes these concepts night after night. You begin to feel different about money during your waking hours. Financial opportunities start to feel more natural and less stressful. You find yourself automatically thinking in terms of abundance rather than scarcity. You notice possibilities for creating value and generating income that were always present but invisible to your previous mental programming. The transformation extends beyond just personal financial success. When you truly understand and embody natural abundance principles, you become a conduit for prosperity to flow to others as well. Your business interactions become more generous and collaborative. Your investment decisions consider long-term value creation rather than short-term extraction. Your entire approach to money becomes aligned with supporting the natural abundant flow rather than restricting it through fear-based thinking and scarcity-driven actions. The role of expectation in wealth creation. Your expectations about money operate like invisible magnets in your life, constantly attracting or repelling financial opportunities based on what you truly believe is possible for someone like you in your circumstances. These expectations work at such a deep level that they influence every financial decision you make, every opportunity you notice or overlook, and every action you take or avoid taking in relation to building wealth. If deep down in your core being you expect financial struggle, limitation, and disappointment, you'll unconsciously make choices day after day that confirm and validate that expectation, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that feels like fate but is actually just mental programming in action. The power of expectation in shaping reality has been documented by researchers and observed by wise teachers for centuries. But most people dramatically underestimate how profoundly their financial expectations influence their actual financial outcomes. When you truly expect abundance, prosperity, and financial success at the deepest levels of your consciousness, you naturally gravitate toward false behaviors and decisions that create those results. You notice opportunities that align with wealth creation. You feel confident taking calculated risks that could lead to greater income. You persist through temporary setbacks because you expect ultimate success rather than permanent failure. Conversely, when your deepest expectations are focused on financial struggle, limitation, and disappointment, you unconsciously seek evidence that confirms these expectations while filtering out evidence that contradicts them. You notice stories about economic hardship but overlook stories about financial success. You focus on risks and potential losses when evaluating opportunities instead of focusing on potential gains and positive outcomes. You interpret temporary setbacks as proof that financial success isn't meant for you, rather than viewing them as normal parts of any wealth-building journey. The challenge that keeps most people trapped in cycles of financial limitation is that their true expectations about money are buried deep in their subconscious mind, formed during childhood experiences and reinforced through years of cultural conditioning, media messages, and personal experiences that seem to validate limiting beliefs about financial potential. These subconscious expectations operate continuously, influencing your thoughts and behaviors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you're consciously aware of them or not. You might consciously say you want wealth. You might set financial goals. You might even take actions toward improving your financial situation. But if your subconscious mind expects struggle, limitation, and eventual disappointment, guess which set of expectations will ultimately determine your results? The truth just always wins this internal battle because it operates continuously without rest. While conscious intentions only influence your behavior during the limited hours when you're actively thinking about financial matter, this is why so many people experience frustration and confusion around money. They can't understand why their sincere efforts to improve their financial situation keep producing disappointing results. They work hard. They try different strategies. They follow advice from successful people. But somehow they keep ending up in similar financial circumstances. The missing piece is that they're trying to change their external financial reality without addressing the internal expectations that create that reality in the first place. Sleep programming works because it speaks directly to the subconscious mind during the hours when conscious resistance is at its lowest point. During these precious nighttime hours, you can plant seeds of positive expectation that grow stronger while you rest, gradually replacing old patterns of financial pessimism with new patterns of prosperity consciousness. Night after night, you can feed your sleeping mind images, concepts, and beliefs about your unlimited financial potential until these new expectations become stronger than the old limitations. The transformation happens slowly at first, then accelerates as new neural pathways become established and reinforced through consistent repetition. You begin to notice subtle changes in how you think about money during daily life. Financial conversations feel different. Business opportunities appear more attractive and less risky. Investment decisions come from confidence rather than fear. You start expecting good things to happen with your money instead of constantly worrying about financial disaster. Over time, these new expectations become so natural and automatic that you stop sabotaging your own financial success through unconscious, self-limiting behaviors. You stop talking yourself out of profitable opportunities because they seem too good to be true. You stop making financial decisions based on worst-case scenarios and start making them based on realistic optimism about positive outcomes. Most importantly, you develop what successful people call wealth consciousness, an unshakable internal knowing that financial abundance is not only possible for you, but inevitable when you align your actions with your transformed expectation. Transforming your relationship with money energy. Money is really just a form of energy, a sophisticated system that allows value to flow between people in society, facilitating the exchange of goods, services, ideas, and human effort in ways that create mutual benefit and shared prosperity. When you begin to understand money from this energetic perspective, rather than viewing it as a solid, limited object that must be hoarded and protected, your entire relationship with financial abundance begins to transform in profound and lasting ways. However, when you carry negative emotions around money, when you feel guilty about wanting it, resentful about needing it, or fearful about losing it, you're essentially creating massive resistance to this natural energy flow. Like trying to receive clear radio signals while simultaneously generating static interference at exactly the same frequency. The emotional complexity that most people develop around money creates an internal energetic contradiction that sabotages their financial success before they even begin taking external actions toward wealth building. Consider how many conflicting emotions the average person carries about money simultaneously. They desperately want more money to solve their problems and create security, but they also feel guilty about wanting material things because they've been taught that spiritual or noble people shouldn't focus on money. They recognize that they need money to survive and thrive in modern society, but they also resent this need because it makes them feel dependent and vulnerable rather than free and self-sufficient. They work diligently to earn money through their careers or businesses, but they simultaneously stress and worry constantly about losing what they've gained, creating chronic anxiety that drains their energy and clouds their financial judgment. They admire wealthy people from a distance, but also harbor unconscious resentment or judgment about how those people obtain their wealth, assuming that financial success must involve some form of moral compromise or exploitation of others. This internal emotional chaos around money manifests in countless ways that most people don't recognize as connected to their financial results. They might procrastinate on important financial tasks because money conversations trigger uncomfortable emotions. They might undervalue their services or skills because deep down they don't feel worthy of high compensation. They might avoid networking opportunities because they feel awkward about discussing business or financial topics. They might make impulsive purchases to temporarily escape financial stress, then feel guilty about spending, creating a cycle of emotional reactivity around money that prevents clear-headed financial planning. The root of these emotional complications lies in years of mixed messages and traumatic experiences around money that created deep associations between financial topics and stress, fear, guilt, shame, or perhaps you witnessed your parents fighting about money and learned to associate financial discussions with conflict and pain. Maybe you experienced economic hardship that created lasting associations between money and survival anxiety. Possibly you received religious or cultural messages that created guilt around material desires, making wealth feel spiritually dangerous or morally questionable. During sleep, your emotional processing centers operate very differently than during normal waking consciousness. The brain structures responsible for fear, anxiety, and emotional resistance become less active, while the areas involved in memory consolidation, learning, and integration become more prominent. This creates a unique opportunity to heal your relationship with money on an emotional level without the interference of conscious mental defenses that normally protect old emotional patterns from change. When you consistently expose your sleeping mind to ideas about money as a positive force in the world, as a tool for creating good and helping others, as something you naturally deserve simply because you exist and have value to contribute to society, these deep emotional associations begin to shift naturally and organically. Your subconscious mind starts to form new emotional connections with financial concepts, replacing fear-based reactions with confidence-based responses, replacing guilt about wanting wealth with excitement about the good you can do with increased resources. This emotional transformation has immediate practical benefits in your waking life. Financial conversations become more comfortable and natural. Business opportunities feel exciting rather than threatening. You approach money decisions from clarity rather than emotional reactivity. Investment choices come from strategic thinking rather than fear-based reactions to market fluctuations. Most importantly, you develop what successful people have always possessed: a clean, clear, positive emotional relationship with money that allows wealth energy to flow toward you naturally rather than being repelled by internal emotional resistance that operates below the level of conscious awareness, the compound effect of nightly transformation. Here's something truly powerful about using sleep time for wealth programming that most people never calculate or fully comprehend until they understand the mathematics of transformation and the incredible leverage that consistent nightly practice creates over time. This approach compounds in ways that seem almost impossible when you first consider the numbers, but become undeniable when you understand how small, consistent changes create exponential results through the principle of compound growth. That applies to mental programming just as powerfully as it applies to financial investments. Every single night builds upon the previous night in a continuous process of mental architecture construction. Every week builds upon the previous week, creating stronger and more sophisticated neural pathways that support wealth consciousness rather than poverty programming. You're essentially gaining access to approximately 8 hours of reprogramming time each night that you weren't using effectively before. Time that was previously wasted on random mental processing, stress recycling, and unconscious reinforcement of whatever limiting beliefs happen to be strongest in your mind at any given moment. Think about this mathematically, and the numbers become staggering in their implications for personal transformation. If you sleep 8 hours per night, that represents 56 hours per week of potential programming time focused specifically on transforming your financial consciousness. Multiply this by 52 weeks per year and you discover that you have access to over 2,900 hours annually of dedicated mental reprogramming opportunities. Now compare this massive block of time to perhaps 30 minutes per day of conscious wealth building activities during your waking hours, and you realize that you're accessing nearly 6 times more mental programming time just by effectively utilizing the sleep hours that you're already spending. Anyway, the compound effect means that changes start small, almost imperceptibly, but grow exponentially as new neural pathways become established and reinforced through consistent repetition. During the first week of sleep programming, you might notice only slightly different thoughts about money during your daily activities. These changes feel so subtle that you might even doubt whether anything is really happening at all. But underneath the surface of conscious awareness, your brain is already beginning to form new associations, new emotional connections, and new behavioral patterns related to financial abundance. After a month of consistent nightly programming, the changes become more noticeable and undeniable. You might find yourself naturally making different financial decisions without consciously trying to change your behavior. You might notice that opportunities for additional income seem to appear more frequently in your life. You might discover that conversations about money feel more comfortable and less emotionally charged than they used to feel. These changes occur because your subconscious programming has shifted enough to influence your automatic thoughts, feelings, and behavioral responses around financial matter. After several months of dedicated sleep programming, people often report experiences that seem almost magical to outside observers who don't understand the underlying principles at work. Opportunities for financial advancement seem to appear out of nowhere. But in reality, these opportunities were always present in their environment. What changed was their internal programming, which finally aligned them to notice, evaluate, and act upon possibilities that their previous mental conditioning had made invisible or unattractive. The compound effect continues to accelerate as your new prosperity consciousness becomes more deeply established and automatically operational. Your financial intuition becomes sharper and more reliable. Your ability to create value for others increases because you're operating from abundance rather than scarcity. Your confidence in business and investment situations grows stronger because you're no longer sabotaging yourself with unconscious limiting beliefs about what's possible for someone with your background, education, or current circumstances. Perhaps most importantly, the compound effect creates momentum that eventually becomes self-sustaining. Once your new neural pathways around wealth and abundance become stronger than your old pathways around limitation and struggle, the transformation continues to deepen and expand even without conscious effort. Your mind automatically seeks the that supports prosperity consciousness while filtering out evidence that supports poverty programming. You naturally gravitate toward people, information, and opportunities that align with your transformed financial expectations. This momentum creates what successful people throughout history have experienced, a sense that wealth creation becomes easier and more natural over time rather than harder and more forced. What once required tremendous effort and willpower eventually feels as automatic and effortless as any other skill you've mastered through consistent practice. The compound effect of nightly transformation doesn't just change your financial result, it fundamentally changes who you become as a person, developing the kind of prosperity consciousness that naturally attracts and creates wealth as a byproduct of your transformed mental state. Practical integration with daily wealth building. Sleep programming isn't meant to replace action in your daily life. It's designed to make your actions exponentially more effective, focused, and aligned with your deepest financial goals by creating internal harmony between your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming. When your subconscious mind becomes truly aligned with wealth creation through consistent nightly reprogramming, something remarkable begins to happen during your waking hours that most people have never experienced in their entire life. You naturally start making better financial decisions without having to force yourself or rely on willpower and conscious discipline that inevitably breaks down under stress and pressure. The transformation manifests in countless practical ways throughout your daily experience. You become genuinely more creative about generating income because your mind is no longer constrained by old limiting beliefs about what's possible for someone with your background, education, or current circumstances. Ideas for new revenue streams begin flowing naturally during routine activities. Solutions to financial challenges appear in your awareness without the struggle and stress that used to accompany money-related problem solving. You find yourself naturally gravitating toward people, information, and opportunities that support wealth building rather than unconsciously avoiding them due to deep-seated discomfort around financial topics. Your confidence in business situations undergoes a dramatic transformation that other people notice and respond to positively. When you walk into negotiations, sales presentations, or networking events, You carry yourself with a quiet assurance that comes from internal alignment between your conscious goals and your subconscious beliefs. You are no longer fighting an internal battle between the part of you that wants financial success and the part that doubts your worthiness or capability. This internal harmony manifests as authentic confidence that feels natural rather than forced, magnetic rather than desperate. Perhaps most importantly, you become far less likely to sabotage your own financial success through the unconscious self-defeating behaviors that keep most people trapped in cycles of financial struggle despite their conscious efforts to improve their situation. You stop talking yourself out of profitable opportunities because they seem too good to be true. Your journey to financial abundance doesn't have to wait until tomorrow morning. It doesn't have to be postponed until the weekend or until you finally feel ready. It can begin tonight, right here in this very moment, even as you prepare to rest. Abundance is not only about money. It is a mindset, a shift in energy, a way of training your inner world to see, expect, and attract opportunities that already exist around you. And the most powerful time to begin planting these seeds is when your conscious mind is quiet and your subconscious mind is open when you are drifting into sleep. As you close your eyes tonight, think about how much power the human mind holds. Every thought, every belief, every assumption you carry about money and success is shaping your future reality. If you've been telling yourself, money is hard to earn, or I'll never get ahead, those thoughts become the lens through which you see the world. But here's the good news, you are not trapped by those old patterns. Your mind is plastic, flexible, open to change. And while you sleep, your subconscious, the deepest part of your mind, works without resistance. It absorbs new ideas like fertile soil waiting for seeds. So imagine this. As you drift into sleep tonight, you gently release the heavy stories of limitation. You replace them with whispers of abundance, ease, and growth. You tell yourself, wealth flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I am worthy of financial freedom. Opportunities surround me. These are not empty words. They are codes you are planting into your subconscious. With time, they become your default mindset. And when your mindset changes, your actions, choices, and energy naturally align with that new belief system. Financial abundance is not about chasing money desperately. It's about becoming the kind of person who sees opportunity where others see obstacles, who trusts that there is always a way forward, who acts with courage instead of fear. The shift begins inside. And sleep is one of your greatest allies because it gives your brain space to rewire itself, to integrate new beliefs, to reset. Think about how many hours we spend asleep each year, thousands of hours. What if those hours became a silent training ground for your success? What if every night you gave your subconscious a clear direction, abundance, prosperity, wealth, and allowed it to work for you while you rested? By doing so, you would multiply your progress effortlessly. So tonight, as you lay your head on the pillow of scarcity, release the idea that you are behind or that life is unfair. Choose a new narrative. Close your eyes with gratitude for what you have and with excitement for what is coming. Trust that your journey to abundance doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins now, in the silence of the night, in the thoughts you choose before you drift into dreams. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll already be one step closer to the life of financial freedom you deserve.